Martin, and this is Real Life with our very favorite life coach, Susan Harf, who offers tips and strategies to help us negotiate those tricky situations we get ourselves into so that we can live our very best life. Like you, I can't wait to hear what's on her mind today. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Rose. I'm so happy to see you, and I'm very glad that you joined us as well. So today we're talking about what happens when somebody says to you, "You don't meet my expectations."
And I'm thinking, are those my reasonable expectations that they should be able to do, or my unreasonable expectations?
They're just telling you, you're not doing it. You're not doing it for them.
Okay.
And that's it. And we've all been in that situation. We've all been in a situation where we believe somebody else is not meeting our expectations, or they're not meeting ours. So there's a few ways I want to talk about this situation. One is, what happens when you believe that the person is not meeting your expectations, when you're the one who is not getting what you want?
Right, so I have an expectation that they're going to act in a certain way, and when they don't do that, they're not raising up or they're not satisfying me, because I have this need that is very important, and I have this want that is very important, and I have this expectation that is very important, and they're just not coming up to it. So I'm disappointed. I might get crabby. I might get a little bit more forceful to say, "Hey, didn't you hear me?
I've told you this a thousand times.
I told you this 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Why is this still happening?"
So one of my clients said to me in front of the husband, she said, "I've told him 100 times to not leave dishes in the sink." Actually, wait, I got to change that. She said, "I've told him 100 times to do those dishes, and he doesn't do it." And what I found out was, when I said to him, "Why don't you do it?" He said, "I do it. But I wash the dishes after breakfast, and I even put them away. And I put the dishes in the dishwasher for lunch. And what she's talking about is the dinner dishes. And she doesn't give me enough time to get those arranged and put away." What she wants is a clean sink. She doesn't want to come home and see dishes in the sink ever. And
she's lucky that he's doing all those dishes.
Absolutely. So, but when she says to him, "I want you to do the dishes," that's not really what she wants. She wants a clean sink, meaning don't leave the dishes in the sink. If you can't put them away, fine. If you can just wash them and put them in the dish drain, fine. Or sometimes they would do that if they didn't have like a full load, so for the dishwasher. But my point is that I'm not going to judge what you want or what your expectations are. But what I'm going to say is, sometimes when you don't say what you think you said, your expectations are not met.
That's interesting, because the same dishwasher example I can think of in our family. Bob loads the dishwasher and does not like the way at all that I load the dishwasher. And so I do not meet his expectations. I do not meet his expectations, and he will reload the dishwasher. And so finally I'm like, "Well, do whatever you want with the dishwasher."
Don't do it.
Right. So I don't load the dishwasher anymore, because he would open it up and be like, "All these plates are not in the right order." I'm like, "Okay."
You know, we have a lot in common, and I know that, but we didn't know we had this in common. I don't load the dishwasher either, because he does it better. He's the spaceman. He does it better. And your husband's an engineer, so he's the spaceman too, so he does it better. Okay, fine. But if what you want is what you want, then you got to say it, and you got to pay attention to what it is you want. So let me tell you a story. One time, I had this couple in my office. They were coaching with me. And they came in and they were having an argument in the waiting room before they got in to see me. And I said, "Well, this is good. Let's continue the argument." And she said, "Oh, he makes me sick." I said, "Oh, wow. What'd he do?" She said, "Well, we just had Valentine's Day." I said, "Yeah, I know. I'm very aware of that." She said, "He didn't get me what I wanted. And not only didn't he get me what I wanted, he got me something I don't want." I said, "What didn't you want?" She says, "He got me a big box of candy." Right away, my candy barometer's going off, because I love candy.
Yeah, that's a great gift.
I love candy. So I said to him, "Why'd you get her candy?" And he said, "Well, let me think. Okay, I know why I got her candy. Because when I was growing up, for every holiday, my dad brought my mom for Mother's Day, for her birthday, for their anniversary. He always showed up with a big box of candy, good candy. And so I guess that's kind of ingrained in me to buy candy. And she said, but you know I'm on a diet. And he said, what I know is you're always on a diet and sometimes you go off your diet. So how am I supposed to know when today we're on or off? And so the argument ensued. So I said, could I interrupt for a moment and tell you what I did on Valentine's Day, if anybody's interested? And they said, okay, what'd you do? I said, exactly what I wanted. And they said, like what? I said, well, we got tickets to a concert. And I really, really wanted to go to this concert. And they said, so how did that occur? And I said, because I told my husband that's what I want. I want this for Valentine's Day. And they said, well, that's the most unromantic thing I've ever heard of. And if you have to tell him after so many years of marriage what you want, it's not good enough. You know what? We had a wonderful Valentine's Day that year. We had a great night, and he had a very satisfactory night because I was happy. and he was happy too. Yeah. So the thing is that if you have to, people say to me, if you have to say what you want, it's no good, it's not romantic enough. And I'm here to say, yes, it is. And, and it's not selfish to say what you want. Too often people think that to establish what makes you happy or what you want is only a self-satisfying pursuit, and it's selfish. It's not selfish. It's communicative.
And I'm seeing this a bridge to so many other things, not just Valentine's Day. A bridge to the cleaning, like the dishwasher example, right? Or Christmas or Hanukkah presents, or birthday, or trips, or any number of things. Even in the workplace with colleagues, being clear about what your wants are, because we don't read each other's minds and people aren't fortune tellers.
Absolutely. We can't read each other's minds. And it doesn't go anywhere with me when people say, but we've been married so long, or in the case of the supervisor who says to me about his employee, this person's worked for me for 10 years. He knows how I want it. No, we are not mind readers. We have enough trouble we got enough to do going through our day as us. I mean, some days I say to people I know and myself, it's just very hard to be me today. So the fact is, we got a lot on our mind. And most of what's on our subconscious mind, our unconscious mind, is what happened when we were growing up in our family of origin.
And I think we don't think about that enough, right? Because
not overtly.
Right, because you talk about that, the family of origin, and how so many things are ingrained in us and become our second nature. And until we drill down and we try to figure out the answers to those questions about why we're doing that, then we can get to the how do we change.
Exactly, like the guy who found out that he gave the box of candy because his dad did.
Which is endearing.
It is, and we don't think about that. We really don't think about why we initiate what we do or where that comes from originally, but it does come from our family of origin most often. And so what we're thinking about is right now, which leads me to another point, which is two things. One is, you just said it was endearing. And if we can focus on the intent and we can focus on, did the person mean to do something well, good, nice, in the case of the employee, thorough and conscientious. If those are the adjectives or the adverbs to decide how we feel or what we do, then that's what we need to pay attention to. Because the fact is that when people aren't meeting our expectations, now we started off by saying we need to be more clear about our expectations. We need to be clear with ourselves what our expectations are. Sometimes we don't know. We think we know. So for instance, let's say we go to the doctor and we walk in and we say, hi, and the doctor says, why are you here? And you say, well, everything's fine. This is just sort of this is a well visit and we're good. And the doctor spends 15 minutes with us and leaves and that's it. But what if we have a problem that day? What if we have a rash? What if we have a broken toe? What if our arm is bothering us? Let's say we still say to the doctor, things are fine, and 15 minutes later we leave. If we don't give the doctor the information that they need to help us, then the doctor can't in any way help fix what's wrong. If we decide we're going to make a bookshelf, and we buy all of the implements to make the bookshelf, and all the stuff comes in the mail the big box comes to make the bookshelf, but it doesn't come with any direction or any instructions, we kind of know what a bookshelf looks like. So we say, well, I can kind of do it. And we may do it almost right, but it might be lopsided because we didn't have the directions. Well, it'll look like a bookshelf, it won't look like a boat, but it may not be perfect because it didn't come with the instructions. So people who say to me, it shouldn't be on me to say exactly what I want or what I need, wrong. That's not true. It is on you. And the other person has a lot to do just being them. And most of the time, they're going to be thinking about what happened in the family of origin unconsciously. They're not going to be thinking about what you want, even if you've been married a long time, or even if you've reported to this person forever, or even if you've employed this person forever.
Okay, but I'm thinking, let's say you do that, and you've said exactly and been very specific. I want an antique blue Japanese ginger jar for Christmas.
Yes.
And you've been very clear about it. And Christmas comes, no present.
Then you do one of two things. One of the things you might do is you might forgive the person, because if every other time they have given you what you want and they have responded to your needs and responded to your asks, and they clearly want to please you, then something happened. And whatever it was, you need to find out what it was, what happened. There was obviously something going on with the other person that made them forget or made them not do it. Or maybe it was too difficult an ask. And then they need to get involved in conversation with you, saying, instead of just opening up, having nothing to open up on Christmas morning, instead saying, I have looked all over for this thing. I cannot find it. Can you help me find it? Can you tell me where to go? So there's conversation that can occur. But the thing that I know about when people are not meeting your expectations most of the time is that there's something wrong there's a disconnect between the communication that should be happening and what is not happening. So for instance, when you tell somebody what you need by shaking a finger at them, either figuratively or literally, that is not necessarily going to lead to different behavior. That's not the way people change. When you try and bring somebody down or go like this, figuratively, or in some way you make them feel like they're no good, or you let them know they are no good for you, they'll show you how no good they can be. So the way to elicit a more healed response is to say, I know you meant to do it. Think the best, not the worst. I know you wanted to do it and you didn't, so I'm disappointed and I'm just wondering what happened. You said that you were going to meet me at 10 o'clock, but you ended up coming at 11. Is there something wrong? What happened? My expectation is that you're going to be on time. So you weren't, and I feel badly that you weren't, but I don't want to jump to conclusions. Well, I had a flat tire, you might find out. So in essence, when you expect somebody to meet your expectations and then they don't, that is a much better situation to be in than when you're expecting them to fail. When you act with somebody like you don't believe that they're going to come through for you, they probably won't, now or before or later. And also, when you act angry with somebody, know that you're acting angry about something that happened before. If you start out angry, know that that's not happening right now. It may have happened yesterday, but that's not now. So if you can say to yourself, I need to approach this person who they are with me today, right now. Today, they're trying to meet my need. it doesn't really matter. It's not appropriate, and it's not really, it's not part of the discussion that it happened before. Because what I want to know now is what's happening right now. What are you truly interested in meeting my need? So that's the first whole part of it in terms of answering your question of what do you do when they don't do it, is you find out. You ask questions. You expect the best. You expect that they wanted to, but they couldn't. And then when you find out that they couldn't, then you know the backstory, and of course you understand.
When do you readjust your expectations? Because maybe they are unreasonable, and maybe it's something that you've set a bar that you could even do for yourself, and then you're thinking, you know what, I just need to let that one go, or I need to reevaluate my own thoughts about why I even wanted that, or why I even expected that.
I love that question, because we're not asking that question of ourselves often enough.
Right.
The fact is that if you find that you are repeating your asks over and over and it's not happening, then one of two things are occurring. One is your asks are not appropriate. Like you said, they're things that you could do for yourself and you're becoming a burden. And people let you know you're becoming a burden in overt ways and not so overt ways. They inadvertently let you know by not answering the phone, by not meeting your requests, by being too busy, by not having honest and open conversation with you. So that's one thing. Secondly, though, if you find that what you're asking is appropriate and it's really what you want, so it's not like the situation where the person said, I want the dishes done, and you never do the dishes, and in fact what you really wanted was a clean sink, then if you're asking for appropriate asks and you're clear about your communication and you're leaving room for that give and take and questions and answers, and the person still won't do it, it's not can't, it won't, he won't or she won't, then you need to reevaluate the relationship. But I believe that most of the time when this happens, it's not that.
Or and it's not just one thing, right? It's not the sink or the dishwasher or
Exactly.
the socks or making the bed.
Exactly.
But I'm wondering, you said appropriate. How do we determine if that expectation is or isn't appropriate?
You ask the person. You say, I would like you to stop on your way home from work and get eggs and milk and bread. Are you available to do that? Is that okay for you? Or do you have somewhere else to go, or do you want to just get home quickly today? So this is what I'd like. Can you do it? The other thing is that, you know, I want to regress for a second and say I don't want to forget that I believe that if the train is not stopping at your station, it's not your train. So what I mean by that is if the person is not going to do it and they repeatedly won't do it, and what you're saying you think is very reasonable, and you've even asked, is this reasonable for you? And they won't do it, then they're giving you a message that they don't want to meet your expectations. And then we don't have the right to trample on somebody when they don't. We do have the right to say, this is not working for me. But sometimes people's expectations are inappropriate, and they don't tell you. And that's the other thing that I run into a lot in my practice is people say to me, you know, my girlfriend doesn't care about me. Well, why do you think that? Because she never initiates a phone call. And then I said to the girlfriend, why don't you initiate? She says, I kind of like the man to initiate, and I'm thinking that he would be, what's the word, demasculate or emasculate?
Yeah, D.
I think that you might be demasculated. I
Yeah.
might diminish you
Yeah.
if I start calling you more. She was making an assumption, and he made an assumption too. His assumption was, if she doesn't call me, she's not really into me. Her assumption was, I don't want to take charge because that's going to make him feel like he's emasculated.
So I'm
no.
hearing that at any point in time, really our need for expectations, how we set our expectations, is really about compassion and communication. Because what we expect from others, what we expect from ourselves, what we ask others to do, what we demand of ourselves, that it's so tightly interwoven that sometimes we might get a little mixed up from whose
Yes.
job it is to do what.
Absolutely. And so, you know, it's usually not about what they did that gave you, that made you angry or gave you the problem. It's the fact that you didn't communicate explicitly what it is you wanted. Because when people disappoint us, most of the time, people don't want to disappoint you. People want to please you. Most people in everyday life, we want to get along with each other. We don't want people coming back to us and saying, you didn't do that report right. You didn't do it the way I wanted. You know, or you're not a good husband, or you're not a good wife, or you're not a good girlfriend, or you're not a good child. You know, we don't want anybody to think that or feel that way. So the fact is that if you think about most of the interactions that cause you pain, it's not necessarily because they refuse to do it. Again, there is that. I mean, sometimes the train's not stopping at your station, realize it. But most of the time, it's because you were not communicating in the way that was effective. So let's talk about that. The way you need to do it is by using I statements. Assertive expressing is what we're talking about. So it's not aggressive and it's not passive. Passive is when you don't say what you want. Aggressive is you do this or else. No, neither one is appropriate. Here's how we do assertive expressing and I statements. When I speak to you and you're looking at your phone, I feel devalued. I feel like I don't matter. This is how I feel when you do that behavior because.
Do you
That's
always
an I
have to put
statement.
a feel in there? Do you always have to put that in there? Or you could say, would it be also appropriate to say, I don't like it when you're on your phone when I want to talk to you?
You can say that, but when you express how you feel, no one can take that away.
Okay.
Because then someone else may say, well, what do you mean you don't like it? If I feel a certain way, you can't take that away from me. So I feel this way. So when my child was 16 and we were having a disagreement about whether or not he could take the car, I said, I feel uncomfortable with you taking the car when I know it's going to get dark out. And he was my kid, so he says to me, I feel that you're being unreasonable. That's not your feeling.
Right. Or
Okay,
you could say, I feel better if, you know, I would feel better if, to make
Yeah.
it not negative, but flip it more to the positive.
Yes, and that's the other part of assertive expressing. So I feel badly when you do, I feel bad when you do this because, or I feel happy when I ask you to get the tickets and you did, but conversely, the other person can then say to you, is this what you said? So you're saying that you don't want me to take the car at all? No, that's not what I said. You can take the car, but not when it's getting dark out. So it's give and take. It's this is how I feel when you do that, and the other person say, is this what you meant? And then you can clarify. So it's more of a 3-step process, or sometimes a 4-step process. One is, this is how I feel when you do that. 2 might be, I would appreciate you doing something different. I would appreciate you not turning on your phone when we're having a conversation.
So how do you set that up in the beginning? Because that's not a, in my mind, not a natural interaction that people are going to do automatically if they're just coming into this cold, right? So when things are calm and feelings are happy, we're all getting along, is that the time to introduce this new way we're going to try to, you know, interact with each other on expectations?
So here's something that's going to shock you.
Okay, I'm ready.
If you've never done it before, they don't know what you're talking about, they didn't watch Real Life with Susan Harf, they're still going to respond positively, I bet, when you act assertively and you express yourself with an I statement. Because the adverse to the I statement is when you do a you statement. And the you statement is, I've told you a million times to do thus and such. They don't want that. And even if they've never heard about this, the person is much more likely to react in a calm, healed manner when you say, I feel disappointed when you don't give me a present on my birthday.
Is that the main takeaway, Susan, really, for expectations, and when you're thinking people are not meeting your expectations? Is that the number one, out of everything we've talked about, the number one takeaway? you
The
think?
number one takeaway is take responsibility for what you want. It is not selfish. You are helping the relationship. And make sure you know what you want. And when you do, make sure you know explicitly what you want. take responsibility by letting that person know it is not up to them, as you said, to be a mind reader.
Right. So, I've learned a lot today, which is great. I'm still probably not going to load the dishwasher.
Me either.
But I think one of the important things is for all of us to remember to be clear in what we want to say.
That's right.
Make sure that we communicate and with compassion and love to express these expectations for ourselves and for other people. And then people want to meet our expectations, and it'll all turn out okay.
Absolutely, it will. I promise. I promise.
Thank you so much to our very favorite life coach, Susan Harf, for helping us all realize that expectations are something that really we can meet them, and we can meet them for others. I'm Rose Martin. For Susan Harf in Real Life, please join us again next time.